Welcome to Transplants, a podcast featuring conversations with women thriving in new roots abroad. I'm your host, Laura Perucci, a Brazilian journalist calling NYC home for over a decade. Each episode, we unpack the transitions, culture shocks, setbacks, and joys of starting a new life in another country, so you can learn from their insights and make your own bold move. Because I truly believe real stories are the strongest way to spark real growth. Hello and welcome back. On today's episode, my guest is Raquel Paiva, and she's a Brazilian stylist based in New York City. And this is a very special episode for me because Raquel is a dear friend of mine and I admire her journey so much. So that's why I invited her to be here. She first came to the US as an au pair, and later she decided to chase her dream of studying fashion in New York City. And after working hard for years and years, she is a stylist and assistant stylist today, and she works with names like Anne Hathaway. And along the way, Raquel also faced some personal challenges like coming out, dealing with a broken heart, and opened herself up to find a new love. It's a story about resilience, identity, and what it really means to create your own path abroad. So let's hear Raquel's transplant story. Welcome to the show, Raquel. Thank you so much for being here again, but now in English. I'm so excited for this.
Thank you so much for inviting me again. I'm so excited as well. Always a pleasure to talk and hang with you.
Let's start with your beginning in the United States. So you came to the United States in 2011 as an au pair, which as many people might not realize, it's one of the most common paths for Brazilian women to begin life abroad. And I was doing some research. I don't know if you know this. Brazil is actually among the top countries that send participants through the au pair program.
Oh, interesting.
To the United States.
I didn't know,
Yeah,
as a fact, I never researched, but I've met so many Brazilians.
But you
They're au
figured.
pairs. So I was like, we must be one. I mean, our country is also really big. We have a huge
Exactly.
population. So I think that plays a factor too. But I do also think that, I don't know, I think Latina women in general and Brazilians are very nurturing. Like a lot of people do like to take care of kids. And
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
it might be, a stereotype.
Yeah.
But I do
That's-
think it is.
That's a good point about the Latino culture. With that being said, what was life like for you back in Brazil before you moved to the United States? What are your dreams at that point? How did the idea of becoming an au pair first come into your life? And for those who might not be familiar, if you could explain briefly what the au pair program is and how it works.
I'm like, how was life back then? Well, I never really had the dream of living in the US. I never had the American dream. But I always wanted to travel. I've always wanted to, as a kid, I was always like, I'm going to travel the world. It just felt like my town. I'm from a small town in São Paulo, in the coast of São Paulo. And it just felt small for me. I always was like, I'm going to travel. And when I finished high school, I wanted to work in cruise ships. Do, the whole cruise things. But my English was not good enough. And then my English teacher suggested for me to do the au pair program, which for people who don't know, it's a program that an American agency hire people from different countries, women. There is an age gap. It's usually, I think it's between 18 to 26 years old. Well, it's not only for women. Most of the people are women, but men are also allowed to participate in the program.
I actually met a guy that was an au pair.
Au pair, yeah.
In Austria, yeah.
I have a friend too who used to be an au pair. He lives in the city now. So they hire someone to be a nanny, a living nanny to a family in the US. So it's a great opportunity to come here, study. You have to study. That's part of the program. For a year, and you live with the family, then you improve your English and you work. So it's a nice way to come here and you have a job, you have, you study, and Yeah, and I was very blessed that I lived with an incredible family who was like my family to this day. It wasn't really like a dream that I was gonna stay here. It just kind of happened as I was here, and then came to New York City, fell in love with the city, and then I was just maybe I should stay and go to college here, and the rest just kept happening.
So basically decided to go to the United States to be an au pair so you could improve your English, to go back to Brazil and then work in a ship cruise.
Yes.
That was the plan.
That was the plan. And I was going to work
Wow.
in the cruise ship for like a few years so I could travel to a bunch of different countries while work, and then maybe move to São Paulo and go to like and start my like career there. But I before I started to like building my career, I wanted to travel. But yeah, then when I
Okay.
came here and came to New York City, I was kind of like, oh my God, the city is incredible. And what if I just stayed here and went to school here?
Yeah, but you actually you didn't move to New York City like right away. Like you were working with a family out of New York, and this was your first trip, international trip, right?
Yes, that was the first time I traveled outside of Brazil. Yeah. And then, yeah, when I was an au pair, I didn't live in the city, but I was close enough that I was able to come on the
Yes.
weekends.
So consider this was like your first international trip. I mean, it's like exciting and also at the same time, oh my God, I'm going by myself to this country, to this other country, and I don't know the language. Like we think we know the language and then we get there and it's like, oh my God, I don't know. But what are your first impressions when you landed in the United States? Like, do you remember like your first like culture shock moment
Oh my
or
God.
something that felt like totally unfamiliar or something that was like really unexpected?
Well, it's crazy because something that nowadays I myself am like gagged about is that I was only 20 years old and I'm by myself in a different country, barely speaking the language. And I don't know how I did it. Like, if it was today, I'm like 33 years old. Like, cannot even think about moving to a different country and learning a new language. There is something about being young and being fearless. You're a little bit more like, take the steps and you don't think about it too much. But that was one of the things, my English, like back in Brazil, I was studying for many years and you do some tests and you like practice with your teacher and you think like I thought I knew more than I actually knew when I remember landing. I landed in the New York airport. And one great thing about the au pair program is that you come with a group of girls. You do
Okay.
like when you get to the US, you do a training. So when you get here, you meet a bunch of other girls. But also, I met in São Paulo at the airport a bunch of Brazilian girls. So it did feel a little bit more comfortable that I had this group of girls with me that also spoke my language. But I just remember walking the airport and just following them, but like looking at the signs and hearing, because especially when when your English is not that great and you hear from the microphone, I've like, what the fuck are they saying? Oh, can I curse?
Yeah,
I was hearing from the
yeah,
microphone.
totally.
I was like, what are they saying? I don't know. What am I doing? And that's when I kind of realized that like what I was doing a little bit in terms of the language. I that was a little bit of a shock because I it's just, when people speak faster and when you realize like, okay, I'm not always gonna have someone next to me that I can ask in Portuguese, like, how do I say this? And also,
Oh
this
my
is
God.
2011. I didn't have a smartphone back then. Like, I didn't have Google Translate. Like, can I translate this? How do I say this? I literally just had to like use my hands, use the few words
You
that I
have to figure
knew, and
out.
try to communicate. And yeah, for a while, I was like, I wish I had waited a little longer in Brazil and studied more, like improved my English before I came here because it would have been
Mhm.
easier. But at the same time, that's how life happens sometimes. It's not perfect, it's not ideal, and
Yeah,
sometimes you're not fully prepared, but you're then forced to be prepared by the
yeah,
situation that you're in. So,
yeah.
maybe that's a good thing for me to learn in life too, to not wait until you're fully ready. Maybe sometimes just take that step, even though you don't see, the whole staircase. That's one of my
I
favorite
agree with
quotes.
you. Yeah, you just know what you know, right? And sometimes when we wanted to be like, I will only do this when I feel 100% ready. Well, I guess you're never gonna do it because
And you always will learn on the way. Like, there is no way you're
yeah,
gonna like start a new job, you're gonna start like a new career, you're gonna like start a new relationship and think you're gonna know exactly how things are gonna play out. No, you're gonna learn, as you go.
let's talk a little bit about the au pair life. I guess for some people, like the whole idea of having this opportunity abroad, it's kind of like dreamy. And especially like with social media, I guess like today is not that dreamy anymore because like a lot of people share their experiences. So people, I guess, are more prepared. But I mean, especially coming from Latin America, where we see the United States at that as that place to be like the perfect country, and then you are like taking care of the kids. You can travel with the family. You have your room in a usually in a nice house. Like, but that's like what people see, right? What's the real story, and like what are some of your biggest challenges when you started to work as an au pair? Because you
Well,
had to change your family
I was just
as
gonna
well.
say that, yeah, for me it was a little bit different than some people. I mean, although a lot of people that happens. So one of the things that it's part of the program, if for some reason it doesn't work out with the family that you're living with, you have the chance to change families. And with the first family I lived with, it's hard for me to like say that something negative about it because they were so nice to me and so welcoming. But the experience wasn't fully what I was expecting. And it was hard for me to tell them to come to them and be like, "Hey, I'm sorry, but this is not working out. I think I need to try with a different family." But that was very important that I did that because
Mm-hmm.
the second family, it was something a little bit more similar to what I was looking for. And again, the mom of the kids is like one of my best friends to this day, and I'm going to the kids' graduation next month, which is insane. That's also how old I am. Um, but yeah, I think a lot of people sometimes, when you like, even for myself before I came and I saw, and imagine about it, like, because we didn't have, as I say, we didn't have a lot of people posting like now that is vlogs and videos of what it's like. There was one girl that did some like, she had a blog and she'll write about it a little bit. And I'll, dream about it. But sometimes, it's real people, real families. So you're inside someone's house, there will be people, everyone have traumas and feelings. And, you're dealing with parents too, that sometimes, their relationships are not the best. Careers, they might be going through things. So that is a lot of, and you are someone completely new, leaving the house, being part of the family, but you're not part of the family. So it can be a little, awkward here and there. One thing really good for me with my second family is that they had a guest house. So I had my own apartment, which was
Oh,
really, really
fancy.
nice.
I don't think I knew that.
It was amazing because it is a little, for me, it was a little uncomfortable to live in someone's house. Like, and you don't have certain
Mm-hmm.
privacies or like, especially when there's kids, like in the morning, if they wake up and start running around, like you hear the sounds. If the parents are fighting, you're screaming, you're hearing it. So it was so
Yeah.
nice for me to have like my space separate from it. But regardless, I think it's such an incredible, and I do have to say though, I think it's very, very important that you have to enjoy the work. You have to like kids. You have to like the whole aspect of taking care of children. And I think that's a mistake a lot of people do sometimes, that they want to come here and they use the program as a way to get here, but they don't enjoy taking care of kids. And then they get here, they're like, "Oh no, this sucks. This kid's doing this, doing that." I'm like, "Wow, they're kids. You shouldn't be doing this." So sometimes it doesn't work for those people because you are gonna be a nanny. Like you are
Yeah.
in the US, you are living the American dream, but you also are a nanny. So you're going to be, the kids are going to cry, they're going to fight, and you're going to have to deal with all those things. I love kids, as you know. So for me, it was just so much fun, and looking back, it was so nice because when you live with them, you don't pay rent. Like I would, because I had my own place, I would buy some of my groceries, but I often ate at their house. They would provide me a car. I mean, you get paid very little. The salary is very low, but you also don't have any
Yeah.
cost of living. So for me, it was just kind of fun. Like I loved playing the kids. I would spend a day with them. Like it was really great.
Nice. Yeah, you have your responsibilities, right? It's not just like travel, posting pictures.
Oh no,
You have things to do. You have a lot of things to do. So I guess you made
100%.
a good
Yeah, it's
point
like
about that.
cooking for the kids, doing their laundry, make sure they do their homework, make sure they shower, they go to bed on time. And these are kids, kids are not just like, "Okay, do your homework now." And they're like, "Okay, I'm going to do it." That's like in a lucky
Oh,
day.
yeah. They
They're
test
like, I
you,
don't want to
right?
do it. Yeah, exactly. So that is, you have to have a lot
Yeah.
of
It's a
patience and
whole negotiation. We already know that your plan was not staying in the United States, but 10, 11, 12 years later, you're still in the United States. So
14. It's gonna be 14 years this
14.
year.
Okay. Yeah.
Crazy.
I was lazy to do the math. But yeah, 14. 14 years later, you're still there. And I mean, at what point did New York City enter the picture? Like, what drew you to it? And how did you make that leap from wherever you were to life in the big city?
So New York City, I think, well, the first time I came to the city was already like, wow. If people believe like love at first sight, like I don't think I've ever had that, with a person. It's like literally like a cartoon if there is like a cupid and like the thing hits the heart. It was like me stepping my foot in New York City for the first time. And I do
I
believe
can
that is
relate to that so
that.
much because with me, it was the same thing.
Exactly. I'm like, I don't know how to explain. Like, and I think it's a thing. I talk a lot about that with traveling, and I think I don't know if it has to do with spirituality, with lives before, but there are certain places that I just feel really good at. And New York City is one of them. Since the first day I was here, I was just like, wow, but it was something so far from my reality. It just sounded so expensive to live here.
For context, where exactly were you located?
I was in Northeast Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And when I lived in New
Just so
York with the
people
first
know that.
family, I was upstate New York. The first time I came here, I already fell in love with the city. I met a friend who was an au pair and she changed her visa to student and she was going to school here. I was like, wow, could I do that? But I was like, it might be expensive. I'm not sure. And then I heard about another girl that did the same thing, and she actually shared like her college and how much she was paying. And I was just looking at it, looking at the numbers, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I can do that. Maybe I can live in New York City and go to college here, and start saving money, all my little money from what I did in the au pair program, and found a roommate. Actually, found 3 roommates. Lived in a 1-bedroom apartment with 4 people, which was amazing.
1-bedroom apartment with 4 people?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh my God. Yeah, there are things only New York can do for you, right?
And our furniture was entirely from like things we found on the streets. We would just like grab it and bring it home. It was at Dykeman Street, so like one stop before the Bronx. So it was pretty far up. Yeah, I used to spend a lot of time on the subway to go to school. And of course, back then it's funny to look back. That just felt like the first little step to be where I am today. Like I used to dream of back then, like my day to day, I was dreaming about here right now. So it feels really amazing to be here. But also looking back, I am so grateful for those times because I had so much fun. It was, that it's like Miley Cyrus song, it's the climb. Like those moments that, when you're dreaming and you're like working, that's also when the magic happens.
How do you think that did the city change you? Like, was there a moment when you realized I'm not the same person who arrived here anymore?
Oh my God, I'm like, that's a lot. I changed so much. It's funny because now I'm like in the process of realizing that more than, because as I was changing, I didn't see that much. But now looking back, I'm like, wow, I changed so much. Well, I think it's both, right? I think moving to a different country and then in New York City in general. So I think the city, I think there's something about New York City is that I feel like you can be whoever you want to be here. That is like a strong sense of freedom because you go outside, there is so much diversity. You see people from every background, every race, every sexuality, gender. I love that about the city. Also, I work in fashion, and that's another thing that you can dress however you want. You can express yourself however you want. So I definitely felt like being a gay woman in Brazil very young, and I was raised very religious. That was something that I always felt it was hard to come out. For example, I always felt like I had to hide. And in New York City, that was also the part of being away from my family, and I was closeted. And my family, I just felt like my family is not going to find out if I go to a gay bar here or if I'm walking around holding hands with my girlfriend. So there was a lot of freedom in that sense of like exploring who I am and my sexuality and embracing that. And then I think that just, a lot of cultural things changed too, of understanding how the US works and how the city works. Because, in Brazil, we're so warm and we hug and we kiss and we talk so
Yeah.
much. And, moving here, I felt like I had to change myself so much to fit in because I didn't want to feel like the outsider. And now as I'm getting older, now in my 30s, I was just having a conversation with a friend about that. I'm trying to go back to who I was before and embrace the Brazilian part of me. And, if I want to talk to people and they don't want to talk to me, too bad. But I will talk to them, you know what I mean? Because that's who I am. And I miss that part of me.
Interesting. I like that. So I was actually gonna ask you, because you came out while living in New York City. So you feel like the city gave you like that kind of freedom, or let's say, quote unquote, permission to explore that part of yourself?
Yes, for sure. I think that, I mean, there was also like my friends. I made all my friends here were gay. My roommates were gay. Not to say that your friends make you gay, but it is, of course, you'll find your
Oh, yeah.
family. Like, yeah, those people, they're like, oh, she's gay because so and so influenced them. I'm like, no, it doesn't work
Yeah,
that
yeah,
way.
yeah. You
But it
think
does
that
help.
maybe like seeing that they were living this life, there was something that you were kind of like hiding, like having the example, you felt more like comfortable and confident to like be who you
Yes, for
are?
sure. Yes, for sure. And it's a psychological thing, right? That we always want to find our tribe and find our people that we feel safe. And also, it's just
Mm-hmm.
that you don't feel like, oh, that is something wrong with me and I'm the only one. Then you just feel like this is who we are and it's normal. And yeah, it just felt much easier. And well, with that being said, it was also, I think both things were happening at the same time. I think one was being here, being in a city that was embraced, like it didn't made me feel like something's wrong with me because there was so much diversity. And there was also me realizing that I was really gay too. Because I think when I moved here, I tried to go out with two guys, and that was those two. That was like the last. I was like, nope, I'm done. Like this is not happening. So there was also me realizing like, oh, I'm really gay. Yeah, but I definitely feel like being in New York City made that whole process happen. I think it would have happened regardless because I would be gay wherever country, wherever city I'm living in. But I do feel like it was a little faster for me to come out because I had the support system of having my friends that became my family here and also the whole city embracing diversity. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
it's
It's
Pride
a very
Month now.
welcoming city. Exactly. Yeah, we're recording this on the Pride Month. What was like to go through that process of coming out while being so far away from your family?
It was
Um,
amazing.
I was gonna ask you, like, so did it feel like liberating or lonely, or maybe
No,
both?
liberate is the best thing, guys. Whoever's listening to this, they should come out of the closet for the family. Go live far away from them. It's so much easier. No, I'm joking, but it was actually is true. It's because like that is something terrible about lying to the people you love the most. It's very hard to lie and hide who you are from the people that are the most important people in your life. Like hiding who you are from your mom, like from my mom, was really hard. And it was different when I had to see her every day. When I'm like with my girlfriend having dinner and then I go to see my mom and I was like, oh yeah, I was with
Mm-hmm.
my friend. I just felt like I was constantly lying and hiding. Being like here alleviated a little bit that feeling. It didn't feel so much. Of course, we still talked on the phone, and then I had to lie here and there. Like, for example, all the times I was with my girlfriend, I always had to say, "Is my friend." When I moved in with my girlfriend, I moved in with a roommate, so it was a little bit easier to hide those things over the phone. And again, I also just being in the city because like if you're like I was from a small town in Brazil, there is so much fear that people are gonna find out and tell your family. And that's something, guys, like if you hear someone's gay, let them come out. Don't like force people out of the closet. But people used to do that a lot, especially back then. Now it's thank God things have changed so much in the last 10 years. I've been here for 14 years. Things were very different. When someone found out someone was gay, that was always the gossip. That was always the thing. So that was just the fear. So I would, try to hide as much as possible. I would never hold hands with my girlfriend. I would never like, there was certain things that you don't do. So yeah, that part also just felt like very, very free to be fair. But also when I was ready to come out, there was also the sense of I was already so far away and they missed me so much. I felt like they didn't want to push me further away from them. For my mom, it's like that was also good because it gave them space. It's different if you see them every day or constantly. So it gave them space to understand what was happening. But they all missed me so
Mm-hmm.
much. So I came out, I was here. And then the next time I went to Brazil, it's like nothing happened. They were so excited about seeing me that they were so happy and they wanted to give me love. They didn't want to be like, because they know I would just like really shut them, like I could really never see them again because I'm in a completely different country.
Mm-hmm.
So I do feel like that made things much, much easier. And I think if I stayed in Brazil, it would have taken me either longer to come out or it would have been maybe a like more difficult way because I was really afraid that someone would say something before I actually,
Mm-hmm.
told
Mm-hmm.
them.
And there is a really interesting story of you coming out because you made like an official announcement.
Oh my God.
Can you share a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, so back then when I was living with my roommate had a YouTube channel for Brazilian, like it was in Portuguese, and he had this show about like, people being in the US and living their dreams, and we did a whole video about me being gay, and um yeah, a lot of people actually found out that I came out that way. Like I had a conversation with my mom and my aunts and people that are closer to me in my family, and the rest it was through this video, like a lot of my high school friends or my childhood friends. And it was an easier way because it just like, and it's so great that things have changed so much and kids nowadays don't feel the need to come out. They don't feel the need to like sit down and be like, hey, I'm gay, because no one's like, hey, I'm straight. So it's like,
Exactly.
why do
I was
we
gonna say
have to
that.
say, like, we have these expectations that people are going to be straight and that has to change. So that was something really hard to think about, like, oh, all the people I have to say. So it was just easier to have a video. They watched it. If they didn't want to talk to me anymore because I'm gay, they don't. If they want to then talk to me, then they talk to me and nothing, and that happened. And I lost a lot of friends, but also like the real one
Th-
stayed and I made so many more real friends. So
yeah.
overall it was a great experience. But
Still like talking about that, kind of like talking about that. How do you think your relationship with your mom evolved during that time of you coming out? Because Raquel and I were already recorded another podcast in Portuguese back in the day when I had another show. And you mentioned something on that interview. You say that your mom, her reaction to like you and your ex at that time gave a new meaning to the word love. Do you remember
oh
this?
yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, because when I came out to my mom, well, my entire family, like what I have today with my family, I did not think was possible. I didn't think they were gonna accept me and love me and embrace me the way it is. Like, it's insane. Sometimes I think about it and I'm like, wait, my whole family knows I'm gay and they all love me and love my wife. Like, how wild. But my mom, she was definitely, because she was very religious, I thought she was gonna need longer to get, to understand and to like accept me. And she right away, like, of course there's a lot of things she's still learning, but she just like, she never stopped talking to me. She never like, I felt very loved throughout the whole process. And I was like, wow, this is, I guess, what people say that mother's love is something else, because I knew I could see that it was hard for her to understand that, but at the same time, I was feeling loved at the same time. And I was like, wow, this
Mm-hmm.
is like amazing to feel this level of love and to know that she's going against all the things she believes and all her values. She's still loving me and making an effort to understand who I am and embrace me. That's incredible. That's amazing. And of course, it's like that, day to day, there are things that she says here and there. And I'm like, Mom, it doesn't look like this. She's still learning. the whole process, but she's amazing. Her mom's amazing.
It's good that she's open to learn. I think that's the most important part when people are
and
open
listen.
to
She
learn and
listens a lot.
listen.
That's
Yes,
amazing. A lot of people
exactly.
don't listen.
Brazil is a very homophobic country. People
It
say a
is.
lot of stupid
Yeah.
things, and it's a very sexist country too. So
Yeah.
it's good that people are opening up and open to
Yeah, it
learn and
has
listen.
changed a lot. It has changed a lot.
Yeah,
I'm
but it
just
still has to
so happy.
change a lot.
It's still
But
there
yeah.
is a lot. Yeah, there is still a lot to
Yeah.
change, especially with trans rights. I think people
Yes.
that's where we are now, that people don't understand and they're so against it. It's I feel like we're back to the 90s in a way. What was the
Yeah.
treatment towards gays and lesbians? Now it's like with trans people. And I'm like,
Yeah.
why do you care
Yeah.
if someone is
Exactly.
wants
It
to be a woman
doesn't
or man? It
change
doesn't
your
affect your life. Let them be.
Exactly. Let's still talk about love, relationships. Your first serious relationship lasted several years. When it ended, it wasn't just like a breakup. It meant starting over emotionally, logistically, and even redefining home. What helped you survive that moment? And if you could share a little bit of that story.
When my first relationship here was building a home, in a way, outside of Brazil, it just felt a little bit more. Yeah, I was building a safe place with that person, but because looking back now, I was so young that I'm like, I don't know how I was thinking this is forever. But when you're young, you're so in the emotions, and this is the first time I'm fully out of the closet, dating someone, living with someone. And I was like, this is it. This is forever. I think back then I was really wow. I thought it was incredible that we met. I really thought. But it's when you're young, it's like a very first love situation. And when we broke up, it just felt like my whole world fell apart, because also that was my home. That's the house I lived, but that also that I built my safe space, and I built all my dreams in my head. I was seeing us in the future and all the things we would do together. And okay, so I think the question also came to who am I now? And it happens a lot when you're young and in a relationship, that you let go a lot of who you are, be in this relationship, and then sometimes if it doesn't work out, you don't know who you are. So it took a little while for me to rebuild myself and understand who I was and what I wanted for life, because now everything changed. I don't want, this person anymore. And it was funny because I was like, I'm going to be single for the longest time. I don't want to be in a relationship. I just want to we started when I was 22 and it ended I was 26. I was like, I'm going to be single until I'm 32. 31, 32,
Oh,
and then I'll meet
wow.
someone. That was my plan. But it lasted 6 months. I was still 26 when I met someone.
You didn't answer my question.
Oh, I didn't.
What helped you to survive that moment? Because like you said, you had to discover who you were, and you were homeless for a while. A lot of things were happening at the same time. It's a lot to digest.
Oh my
and
God.
being away from your country still.
Yes.
What made you feel confident to just keep doing it? Because also at that time, and we're gonna get there, but you're not completely entirely working in fashion. You're still doing some nanny babysitting jobs. You're not at that point of your career that you're expecting to. So, and then the only thing, one of the things that you had to okay, this is set, was not set anymore. It was no, it was not forever like you expected, So how did you keep going?
Well, I think I was still in college, and I really had this big dream of finishing my college, my school here in New York. So that was something, and I had the dream of building a career here. So I think that was definitely something that, because I did think about going home a lot when that happened. I thought about moving back to Brazil, and I think that the dreams of finishing school and building a career here is part of what helped me to stay, and was taking one step at a time. And I had built a family here with my friends. You were amazing during that time. You were so kind to me. You let me stay with you and listen to me cry so much, and so many of my other friends. I think it's really important for when you live somewhere else outside from your home country, that you build your family base, that you build the core friends that they're going to be your family, essentially. They're going to be there for
Yeah.
you, especially moments like that. Then you have, that support system. So that definitely played a role. Like, I think those two things, I think that having like dreams outside of the relationship and then having a support system helped me to get through that moment.
You already mentioned that you met someone like 6 months later, and what happens to be your amazing wife. Because also like because I know you and I've seen you in the previous relationship and now, and we know that your current relationship it's very different. And also like it looks and feels like lighter, more free. Like you're talking on Instagram, I think, about how do you love to go to music festivals, and your wife doesn't like to do that, and you guys have your things that you prefer to do separated, and that's okay. My question would be, what changed in how you approach love and partnership, like considering your previous relationship and your current relationship?
I think one big thing, I think the relationship before, and I think that comes with age too, understanding during the breakup, realizing that like you're not one unit. A lot of people say that, right? Like, oh, I find my half, and you're two people with two different things. You're complete as you are, and you're just doing life together. And I think my previous relationship, there was a lot of me trying to control the other person. Very actually, looking back, I see more how like I was so annoying because I was very like very
No, don't
controlling.
say that.
No, I was. I was very like I wanted to control how she ate, how she dressed, things that she did, like how she worked, how what she should do. Like I just felt like she was a little bit not super happy with certain things in her life. It came out of love, right? I was seeing things that like, oh,
Yeah.
maybe you should do this way. Maybe if you do that way, you're gonna feel better if you do this way. But now, like something that I learned is that even though you married your partner and you live in the same house and you're doing life together, you have to let the other person be themselves. Like you have to let them live their lives the way they want to live. And of course, you can give advice here and there and you can suggest things and you can have conversations, but you also have to allow the other person to do certain things the way they want to do. And it can be tricky. Like it happens sometimes, me and my wife, that will like we talk a lot about our work lives to each other because we're both business owners and we kind of have similar clients. So we talk a lot about work, but my wife is a little bit more like she has more years of experience than me. So sometimes we're getting a little like, she wants to tell me like how things are. And sometimes I'm like, no, but I have to do my own way. And then, but yeah, it's important that each person, respect the space of each other. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things that changed a lot. But also, of course, like it's completely different person. The relationship is very different than what it was before. I think we have more similar values and more like similar lifestyle and what we want.
Enough of love. Let's shift gears and talk about your career. You moved here in 2011, and let's say that it wasn't until like 2-3 years ago that things really started to click for you professionally in fashion. Like, and you can maybe like talk a little bit of how you've worked in fashion over all these years living in New York, but was only like a little time ago, some years ago, that things really like, oh my God, this is happening. Can you walk us through that journey? Like, what were those years like? Working long hours as a nanny, and you're trying to break into one of the toughest industries in New York City, and you never gave up. Like, it took time for things to happen. So tell us a little bit about that journey, and again, like what made you keep going? Because sometimes it's so hard. It's just like, this is not never gonna happen. Why am I doing this? I guess like every person asks those questions to themselves sometimes.
Sometimes I question myself too. I'm like, why did I keep going? I don't think I have an answer to that, honestly. I think I really wanted to have the career I have now and like but yeah, I think just having a very strong vision of what you want to do and believing that you can do it. I think that's what kept me going. I think it has to do with my childhood too, the way I was raised and about is like wanted bigger things in life. I did not want to go back to what I had as a child. I grew up in poverty and I didn't want to go back to living that way. So it was almost like I have to fight. I have to change my life. So I think that was kind of what kept me going too. It's hard to get often in New York. It's hard to get your first opportunity to work. Also, you depend a lot on your visa situation, and for a long time I couldn't work. And when I finally got my green card, it's hard then for you to get a job because you don't have any experience. So it just took a little time, and I worked as an influencer for a while because that was something I could do. I just needed a camera and I was taking pictures and posting and tagging. And then, so I did that for a while, and it was a way to work in fashion and feel like I was doing something. My career as a stylist just started 3 years ago. And I was a little bit reluctant because I sometimes don't love the inconsistency of it. I was looking for a 9 to 5. When I got my green card, I was like, let me look for a job and maybe have, a 9 to 5 and have certain stability. But it's so hard to start a job when you don't know anyone and you just have your resume with not a lot of experience and you're only kidding applying for a job that 800 other people are applying to. So at some point I was just getting discouraged, and I've always wanted to work as a stylist. I just didn't love the idea of the inconsistency of work because sometimes you're super busy, sometimes you're not. And but I was like, you know what, let me just try. And I started doing it and it's going really well. I still struggle a little bit of the consistency of it, but it's been great.
Today you work as a stylist and a stylist assistant, and you had the chance to work with some huge names like Selena Gomez, Anne Hathaway. Sometimes when we are talking on WhatsApp and you mention those names like so casually, I'm like, is this for real? Is this for real? But people, and I guess like people often see those wins, like, and you post those works on your Instagram, like, and they assume that it happened overnight. So all of a sudden,
Oh
Raquel
my
is working
God.
with the celebrities. She's at the Golden Globes, helping to style the celebrities. At the Oscars, she's traveling back and forth. But people don't see it's like what happens behind the scenes. And actually, when we were talking 2 or 3 days ago to schedule this interview, we mentioned something, and I had the idea for this question that it's basically like expectation versus reality. So
Yes,
I would
100%.
love to know what you thought that this would look like when you started to work, and what is actually what is the reality of this job and things that people don't know. I think you already mentioned like that you don't have like a lot of like stability in terms of like the time, but what else like you didn't know and kind of like, oh my God, I didn't sign up for this?
Because when I started this styling career, I had researched a lot and I had friends doing it. That's how I found out even about the career, because it's something like a few years ago, you didn't hear much about stylists, and it's been growing a lot. So I knew what I was getting into. So it wasn't as
Okay.
much as a shock to me. But I do think the majority of people who are completely outside and they don't know anyone that works in the industry, because I had friends that worked in the industry, so I had heard the stories, so I kind of knew what was going to happen. But the people who were completely like outside, I think they don't understand the amount of work that goes into every look. And well, and I think that for me too, I didn't realize before, and it depends on person to person and teams to teams, how like what project it is. Sometimes the amount of clothes you need to have for them to get to one look. But yeah, I think a lot of people think it's just a glamorous life and so fab, and you're hanging with the celebrities and having fun and kicking. But the reality is like we are just providing a service. And of course, yes, the clothes are fun and they're beautiful and they're fabulous and the clients are amazing. They're big stars and they are incredible people, and they so deserve to have the fame that they have because they are amazing and they work so hard. But it's just like I think it's more like it's just work that a lot of people think
Mm-hmm.
it's just like wow, but
Uh-huh.
it's just the person like me and you, they have normal feelings. Some days they're happy, some days they're not. Yeah, like sometimes I think about it, I'm like, oh yeah, I work with these people. How cool. Because it becomes a little normal as you go. Sometimes I remind myself, especially of Anne Hathaway, because Devil Was Prada. Hello. It's such a like it's one of the movies that, inspired me and such a I used to watch I don't really watch it now. I have this thing that I don't watch a lot of the things that my clients are on because I try to separate who they I have to always see once. Like of course, like I get super excited when they have a new movie and then I watch it. I have to separate a little bit so I can treat them as a person when I'm with them. Because I think that's important
Uh-huh.
to just see them by who they are instead of the idea of who they are.
Interesting. I guess like one thing that I didn't realize the other day that you are, I'm not going to say names, but you're saying, oh, yeah, I had to work for this client. We have to think about this outfit. And sometimes you think like it's just an outfit. And then you mention like, yeah, but if this doesn't look good on her, it's going to be all over the press that, oh my God, it's such like a PR process, like a PR job as
Yes,
well, like
that's
to
a
avoid the
huge
bad
yes.
PR.
Yes, that's another thing that a lot of people don't. That's actually the main thing people don't realize about stylists. When you're an actor and you're hiring a stylist, which by the way, it's usually not the actor. That's a misconception. That's a misconception I had before. The actors are not really. It could happen that an actor is like, oh, I follow stylist so and so, and I want this person to be my stylist. But that's not
Uh-huh.
usually the case. Usually, the actor hires has a publicist, and the publicist is the one who recommends the stylist to the actors.
Oh,
So it is
interesting.
really like your image that's being built. And when you're able to create a image, you can make so much more money because you can do fashion deals. If you see all the brand ambassadors that do brand deals with Chanel, Dior, Prada, like that's a way for them to make money and improve their career. And then they get hired more to do more movies. It's a whole image creating thing. It's not just about looking beautiful, looking good for the sake of looking good or looking beautiful. It's all business
Yeah.
and creating this image. When you have clients that level, like we were talking about, like Selena Gomez, she has so many followers and so many eyes on her. So you just never know, even if you think about like, oh, she's just going to a dinner. But there are paparazzis, and not just paparazzi. Nowadays, everyone has a phone and they can take pictures and
Hmm.
they post somewhere. And when they take a picture, you don't know the angle, where it's going to come from. So you have to think about everything, like on the garments, the bra has to be right, the underwear has to be right. That's all part of making sure the whole image looks beautiful because that's why
Yeah.
they hire us. Otherwise, they don't need to hire us. That's why the job exists when it comes to celebrity styling.
I think that's another thing that it's important to remember is that society is still like so cruel to women. It's like a trap, right? Because if you don't follow these rules, like body, clothes, I hate that it becomes a topic. They're just
Well,
like
and
playing
the
by the
fact that
rules.
that people get so brave behind the screen when they can just type in comments.
Exactly.
They say things they would never tell to your face, but they always love make comparisons on the body and say things. And these are people, they have feelings, sure, and they might have a lot of money. They might have a lot of people telling they love them, but they also have insecurities. And when you have people pointing out your insecurities in a bunch of comments, I have no idea how
Yeah,
that feels.
true. I guess I was thinking that people may be curious to know, like, how did you land this job? And perhaps you could also share some of your advice to someone who's like passionate about fashion but feels stuck, especially like when you are doing like the survival jobs on the side in a city that is so expensive like New York.
So styling, I mean, is a very interesting career. There is a lot of things that needs to change. Fashion in general, it's not an ideal industry, I would say. I mean, so many people told me like when I was going to school, like to study something else. I understand 100% why they say those things. But when you love something, I love what I do. And I believe when you do with love, things just work out. Because a lot of people are like, oh, there's no money in fashion. Yeah, but it's also that if you think about it, there's a lot of people making money in fashion. It's not like everyone that works in fashion makes money, which is different from
Mm-hmm.
some other jobs that like there's certain jobs that if you go that direction, you're gonna have for sure make a lot of money. But it's not impossible to make a decent life in fashion. And I think if you love what you do, you can find ways to figure that out. So I started this job assisting, but I was assisting different stylists before. I was not doing celebrity work. I was doing commercial jobs. So for example, there'll be like a brand that's doing their spring summer campaign. I would help styling
Mm-hmm.
their photo shoot. So basically using their clothes or their shoes.
Oh,
And slowly I get to
okay.
like meet more people. And I used to work with this stylist, Katie Mossman, and she's friends with Erin Walsh, who is the stylist that work right now. She styles Anne Hathaway and Selena Gomez. So many people. There is more. And I knew that in the beginning when I was trying to find someone to assist. If I get a door open, like if you do a good job, you can network and then you can slowly grow. It's slowly. It does feel like it happens fast, but when you're in the process, it feels very slow. So it's very important to be patient. But yeah, like there's so many stylists. Nowadays, we have so many tools and platforms. That is social media, that is LinkedIn, that is like you can try to read out someone's email. Sometimes people have their emails online. So I feel like someone's trying to start a styling career. I would say that, like, find a few stylists that you would like to work with, that you'd like to assist, and DM them or try to find their email. Or if they're part of an agency, email their agent and be like, hey, I'm so and so, I would love to assist. This is my resume, and reach out. You never know. It can happen. And then once you know someone, then it keeps happening. You working with full team. So like when I go work with Selena, for example, there's her makeup artist, her hair artist, and then we all network and introduce people to other people. And that's how it's slowly you start building your career and your portfolio. But yeah, but it's a lot of hard work. I think a lot of people come and think it's like, oh, it's going to be easy. But if we have a fitting for one look, we bring sometimes 4 or 5 racks of clothes. And to get those clothes, it's like days of emailing and texting and talking to PR, and you have to build those connections with the PR so you can get access to the clothes and the shoes. And there is the whole process of getting the clothes there, and then, we'll have a fitting where they try on the clothes, they find their one look, but then you have to get all those clothes back to your office, and then you have to return them to each PR. And then meanwhile, you're already starting another job, so then you're already starting to get clothes for another client. Then you have to make sure everything's organized, so you're not returning a Prada dress to Chanel. Make sure you don't lose anything, because sometimes you have stuff that's super expensive, especially jewelry. Sometimes I'm carrying jewelry that are for like millions of dollars. They have to make sure you have all the right undergarments at all times. We have suitcases of like bras and all the different kinds of like underwear and skims and Spanx with high waist,
Wow.
lower waist. Like you have things for the shoes. So if the shoe's hurting, like have the things to put it on. You have to make sure you have a steamer so you can steam the clothes, pins, sewing kit, so you can, sew something. And there is a lot of scheduling that you
I'm
have to do. You have to make,
I'm
there's a lot
already
of work.
tired.
It is a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of
It
yeah.
is.
Have to be like very detail oriented as well, right? I mean,
100%.
we're
You
a
have to be
Virgo,
very
so good
detail-oriented,
for
and you
you.
have to have good memory. Something that's very helpful is if you have photographic memory. I have
Mm-hmm.
terrible memory. If you tell me a secret right now, like 2 weeks from now, I'm not gonna remember. You'll be like, oh, remember I told you this and this, this. I'm like, did you? But if I see a dress now, in like 5 months from now, if you tell me, oh, remember that like purple Givenchy dress with one shoulder, I'll be like, yes, I remember. But for those things, my brain works. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that your background, like as an immigrant and like growing up with limited resources, like always hustling, do you think that that energy of like find a way no matter what, that mindset helped you to survive and thrive in the chaos of fashion in New York City?
I think yes and no. I think
Mm.
yes, in the sense of having that strong desire of wanting to have a better life and making that like a commitment to work hard and make things happen, because I want to achieve those dreams. Every time I achieve something, it's like a little bit more of gas, right? Like a little bit more energy. Because even though there's a lot of days that are very difficult and hard, there's a lot of winnings here and there. So that's why it's important to also celebrate those achievements along the way. So you get the little boost. But yeah, I do a lot of like mindful and meditation and manifesting work to stay committed and continue believing. I mean, I ran the marathon last year. It was one of the things that I wanted to do to prove to myself that like if I work hard, I will achieve what I want. So I definitely think my background helps me having a strong sense of I'm going to work hard and I'm going to make it happen no matter what. But I do
Mm-hmm.
think at the same time, it kind of goes a little bit against the whole fashion industry as a whole because it is still an industry that's highly dominated by people who come from money. It's an industry that's very hard to break into if you're an immigrant. It's hard it's like one of the challenges now because in a lot of the rooms, like most of the stylists I work with, they are gay men or white women. It's not, you don't see a ton of diversity. We don't see a lot of
Mm-hmm.
Latinos in fashion. We're not very known about, like, fashion is very based on Europe. All the big houses, Prada, Chanel, Gucci, Balenciaga, everything comes from Europe. And of course, the US has gained some power and has an influence, but Latin America is not valued as strong fashion we have. There's so many talented Latino fashion designers, stylists, models, especially designers. There's so many so much incredible talent, and it's not explored because it's still very closed in this very Eurocentric. So I do find that a little challenging sometimes because I feel like I'm don't see anyone that look like me or have a story similar like me. So I don't have anyone that I can reach out to and be like, hey, how did you do it? Because I ask a lot of questions to the people I work with that are ahead of me as to kind of know as a path. And they have such different stories because a lot of them grew up here. They're American. The English is perfect. They're,
Mm-hmm.
white, they're straight. And so it's a very different, and their parents had some money, so they were able to invest in the career in a different way that I did. So things happened really, when they were younger, right out of college. And it's just, it is, I'm not going to lie, it's a hard industry to make if you don't have a certain base to set you up for it.
So, my last question, um, if you could go back and talk to that 20-year-old girl that was like boarding that plane and arrived in New York airport and was so scared of everything, what did you say to her?
I would say worry less, be more present, and have more fun. And I keep telling that to myself now. I have to stop myself all the time and be like, Raquel, this is what you dreamed of. Like this, your life today, like your job, like being on set sometimes when I'm there, like a Met Gala, being with Anne Hathaway. Like this is all the things you dreamed for. Like you worked so hard to get here. So be here right now. Because you often then you start like, now I'm going my next dream, my next goal. I'm here, but I'm like, what am I gonna do next? And sometimes I get so stressed thinking about how do I get to the next place that I'm not
And
enjoying.
you're not even enjoying right now. Yeah. It's
Exactly.
about
So
enjoying the journey, right?
yes, and the reality that I've realized now that I'm 33, that I will tell to the 20 years old, you will find a way. Everything is figurable. Like you can figure out a solution for everything. So just relax. Maybe it's not gonna go exactly the way you planned, but you're gonna find a way. So have more fun.
That's so inspiring. I love that for you. I
Yeah.
love to
I
hear
used to be
that.
like, I feel like
Yeah.
in my 20s, when I moved to New York, I felt like when I just made a decision, I'm moving to New York and I'm gonna go to fashion school. Well, there's so many people in New York trying to make it in fashion. So for me to have any opportunity, I'm gonna have to be really good. I'm gonna have to work really hard so I can stand out. So I was so hard when I was in college. I was so hard on myself. I needed to have the best grade. I was just constantly pushing myself so hard. And in a way, you can say, I guess it paid off. But at the same time, I don't know, it maybe would have worked out if I didn't go so crazy. Like sometimes I think I was too hard on myself. So I guess be a little bit more gentle and kind to myself during the process. And to play and have fun too, because fashion's creativity, like you can't be rigid and make things happen in a schedule in a certain way. That was also part of me in my
Yeah.
20s. I wanted to control the outcome, how exactly was going to happen. And even though today my life is exactly how I dreamed 10 years ago, nothing happened the way I thought was going to happen. It was all in different ways, but I still got here. At the end of the day, just looking back and like, what were the fun moments? What are the memories you have?
That's so inspiring. I love our conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your story
me
again.
Oh, yeah.
And I hope
a
that
pleasure.
that can inspire other Latinas out there, other people in fashion. And
Yes, girls, we need
can you
you
share?
all.
Can you share where people can find you if they want to connect with you?
Well, if they want to follow me on my Instagram is at I am Raquel Paiva.
Yeah, I'm going to put that in the description of the podcast, whatever you're listening or watching. Leave her a comment and also send me your messages about this episode and the other episodes. And we'll talk again soon. Bye.
Bye.
I hope you guys enjoyed this episode with Raquel, and I'm gonna leave all her links in the description below, and also our links, our social channels, and our newsletter that I highly recommend that you subscribe to so you can receive all the episodes in your inbox. And if you know an amazing woman, or if you are an amazing woman with an amazing story abroad, please feel free to reach out to me. And also, please help us to spread the word about the show by liking, sharing, rating us, subscribing. You know the drill. And this is really gonna help us to promote the show and making sure that more people will discover the show. That really helps. And other than that, I'm really happy that you guys are here. Thank you so much. And until next time, bye.